another 3 minutes before we start officially. Thank you.
No problem.
Session. This is to ensure smooth flow of the class for all participants. Please ensure that you're always on mute not to disrupt the flow of the session. Also, if you have any questions whatsoever, kindly type them out on the chat space, both for YouTube and for the Zoom platform. Our team will ensure we do well to respond to them appropriately. So for today's session, we have 2 sessions, each for 45 minutes, and there will be a time period for questions and answers for our moderator. Our first speaker for today is Victor Abolaji Ogundele. Victor Abolaji Ogundele is an AI engineer focused on building intelligent systems that bridge AI research and real-world deployment. He specializes in computer vision, agentic AI, embedded systems, and robotics, developing practical solutions for complex problems through projects in IoT, health monitoring, AI-assisted robotics, and enterprise systems. Please, a round of applause as I welcome our moderator, Victor Abolaji Ogundele, to take over from here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Joseph, my friend, for that brief bio. I want to share my screen. Host, please, can I be right? Hello. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Abdulazim. Meeting with people, we are talking about emotional intelligence and leadership. Emotional intelligence and leadership. And my name is Victor. I would be it's sorry, can you mute, please? I'm hearing background noise, please. So emotions are expression with how we heard me say before the break. Very nice comments, and thank you very much. Round of applause to us all. Right. So this was a situation, I'm sure this has happened to so many of us. Something is actually bothering you. Maybe someone spoke harshly to you, and then you just got home and you want to head out some. You're just looking for the key to close the door, and you can't find it, right? And the key is right there in front of you, but you cannot see it, right? So that's the psychological effect about emotions, right? In front of you, and you might not just notice it. And you can see that when she became aware, she had that clarity to see what was actually going on. The baseline for self-awareness. So this word is naughty short turn, and that's a word about self-awareness. So nothing should be happening to you that you cannot sit down and be able to define. The end goal of self-awareness is that you can actually do to be emotionally intelligent or to be aware of yourself is to identify and label your feelings, right? It needs a name. Those feelings need a name. You need to be able to clarify the clutter, right? One of the things with emotions is that they can come at you so much at once and your mind is cluttered. So the moment you're able to identify this right? Pay attention to the thoughts that initiate the emotional spiral. This is very, very important, particularly in relationships. There are certain times that you might feel tensed, right? Or you might feel insecure in particular environments, and you just have to evaluate it. What exactly is causing this for me? What is bringing up this situation? Why I'm feeling very, very much distressed about what is currently going on. That's what emotional recognizing triggers is all about. Knowing what is initiating the emotional spiral. For example, it might be what someone has said before, right? And maybe when that person shows up again in front of you, the moment you see that person again, you begin to go down that emotional spiral. That might be what's causing that emotion. Those are practical skills for you to be aware of what's going on. Now let's move from self-awareness to self-regulation. So now we know what's going on with us and we want to regulate it. We want to be able to control it. By the way, if you have questions, you can begin to drop them. But yeah, we're talking about self-regulation. And again, I have another illustrative text, right? And I will also, again, it's the same exercise, 2 words to describe what this person is going through. Biodun stood backstage, his stomach churning with nervous butterflies. The audience lights beamed blindly bright. And sorry, can you mute your mic, please? Sorry, that's distracting me. All right. Um, the auditorium the auditorium lights seemed blindingly bright, and the excited murmur of the audience amplified his anxiety, right? And he was about to give his first public presentation, and the fear of failure threatened to overwhelm him, Remembering his therapist's advice, he closed his eyes and focused on his breath. He inhaled slowly, counting to 4, then exhaled for a count of 6. He repeated this exercise several times, feeling the tension gradually ebb away. When his name was called, Biodun walked on the stage with newfound composure. He focused on his prepared speech, his voice gaining strength with each word. By controlling his initial anxiety, he delivered a clear and engaging presentation, earning a round of applause at the end. So, how many of us have been in this situation before? Can you describe what it feels? What I like to see answers in the chat. Answers in the chat. What's best described? Stage fright, right? And I'm sure many of us might have experienced this before. Stage fright, standing up to look, ability that he might laugh at you, and that does something to you, right? So that's what he was feeling at this particular point in time. He has to do something about it, right? And that's what we are examining. What you can do about this kind of thing, self-regulation. So you saw with Biodun that he remembered what his therapist had told him, and he was able to use that to manage and control his emotions. So self-regulation is all about managing and controlling your emotions, right? And it actually begins, first of all, again, with self-awareness. You know what's happening to you. Then you can begin to recognize the triggers and manage and control it, right? So when you reduce the triggers, naturally the emotion should come down. When you increase the triggers, naturally you should feel more of that emotion. So if something is making you afraid, if you increase your exposure to that trigger, then you are likely to be more afraid. But with self-regulation, you want to be able to control your emotions, because if you are not careful, what's happening inside you, your inner state can prevent you from achieving some of the things that you have set down to achieve. So with Biodun, he had a goal to achieve something. He had a goal to present a speech, but in that moment, his own emotions were sort of getting the better of him. But one of the ways that he was able to control it was to recognize his impulses, right? It has to do with impulse controlling. And he remembered his session with his therapist. And by remembering the practical steps, which we also look at in these slides, he was able to actually keep calm and stay focused to achieve his goal. So with self-regulation, it has to do with, first of all, you acknowledge what's happening with you, right? But you also acknowledge the fact that there's something you want to achieve. Relate yourself. And we look at practical ways. So practical ways that you could use is this thing called cognitive reframing, right? And the aim is to challenge the thoughts fueling your anger or sadness, right? For example, again, emotions has to do with how we feel, and our emotions sometimes are tied to what we plan to do. I'll give us an example. Say you've planned out your day, right? There are things you want to do today, and if you execute everything properly, you might get a reward, perhaps monetary, perhaps recognition, and whatnot. You might actually be rewarded. But suddenly the day just tilts, right? First of all, the Korope you entered had an issue. The second Korope you entered had another issue. The third Korope that you entered did not have change. You get, and at the end of the day, you spent 1 hour on the road and in park trying to just transport yourself to where you were going. That's something that can very much happen, and you don't have control over it, right? And it's very likely that the next person that you meet, you might be angry in your dealing with that person. And that's already the beginning of like an emotional spiral. But if you're able to calm down, right, recognize that everything that happened, you getting into the bus and the bus failing, was not your fault, right? And then you challenging the thought that is fueling continual anger, because you could challenge it by saying, oh, if I keep being angry, am I going to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. Say you were even you were transporting yourself to give a speech. If you keep being angry, you will not deliver a good speech. So you begin, when you understand that you cannot deliver a good speech because of your anger, then you begin to look at other alternatives that you could help yourself with. For example, an alternative might be to listen to music. That's a way you could manage your stress, because you understand that when you go down from the bus, it's a lot of stress that's piled together, and you need to manage that. Another thing is the spotlight method, right? I think that I like to think of this more of in form of the emotion of anger, right? Anger is an emotion that could actually do a lot of damage um, to whatever you're trying to achieve. So you might be in a meeting, you might be in a classroom, and someone is trying very, very hard to taunt you and make you feel bad or make you overreact. As it's possible that you can encounter that, right? So it's very, very important actually that you should be able to manage your own anger. And one of the ways you can do it is before you make that reaction, like just right before you make that impulsive reaction, you stop and calm down, right? And you say how you feel. You think about what you want to do, right? And try and make another plan. I'll give a very funny example, right? How anger can be very terrible. It's not probably a good example, but I'll still give it. Back when I was in secondary school, I had a colleague that was being corrected by a teacher, right? Funny story. He was being corrected by a teacher, and I don't know, maybe he was having a tough time, or he was just being rebellious. As the teacher was correcting him, um, I think the teacher was correcting him, probably beat him, and this boy raised his hand against the teacher. It was when he had raised his hand finished that he realized that he was out of place, and that issue uh, actually got him into a lot of trouble, right? And he could have actually been stopped if he had stopped to think that, what am I about to do? What am I actually doing here? He might have really gotten out of that mess, but he allowed his anger to get the better of him, and he was not able to control himself. So again, when you want to do something, especially when you notice that you're getting angry, remember self-awareness. You need to stop and calm down. This thing that I want to do, right? This is it the best reaction I can have to this problem? Another thing with the spotlight method is sometimes you might need to actually figure out the best plan. The best plan in that situation might be to keep quiet. The best plan in that situation might be to walk out. Those are practical things you could do, right? It's actually not wise to speak when you are angry, right? You can probably jot that down. It's actually not wise to speak when you're angry, because anything you say, anything you do, will probably not be something you can live with, right? But when you use this method of stopping and calming down, you're able to evaluate yourself. Can I live with the consequences of my actions? Would this still be my response if I was not feeling this way? And taking time to think through these things never hurts, right? East, as they say. Sorry, can you mute, please? Can you mute, please? Sorry, please mute your haste, as they say, makes waste, and you can make regrettable decisions. And there's also activities such as active distractions. So exercise, reading, and funny movies can break cycles of sadness. For example, rumination is written there, but it can break cycles of sadness. If you are feeling sad for an extended period of time, you might want to do something that you find enjoyable. And again, because emotions has to do with your psychology, right? When you exercise yourself, you are able to actually control certain emotions, right? Because it works this way: emotion affects your body. Your body can also influence your emotions, right? So sometimes when you are feeling angry, when you are feeling stressed, it might be helpful to involve in an exercise. When you don't have a clear head, it might be helpful to take a walk. When you don't, when you don't, when you are angry at something, it might be helpful to just take a jog or just yourself down. Those things are intertwined. Your body, psychological things, right? And they have an influence on each other. So that's active distraction. Ways to develop ability. This first point has to do with capture cynical and hostile thoughts as they are right. It says by writing them down, but I recognize that there may be moments when you cannot write certain things down. Say for example, now you want to achieve something and something in your mind begins to tell you that it's not possible, or you begin to be afraid that this thing might not work. You should actually break down the fear. Fear exists only in a vacuum. The moment you begin to actually break down what is causing this fear, then you can actually develop your self-regulation, right? If you have an exam and you are thinking that you might fail, some people have been studying for a long time and they still think that they might not do well. It might be time to actually sit down and capture those hostile thoughts and hijack them. If the thought is that I've not studied, you're able to write it down and say, I've actually studied. So it's not a question of I've not studied. That point is invalid to make me afraid. Sorry, please mute, please. Sorry, please mute. Please mute.
125 kí ló ló ṣe
Please mute your mic, admin. Sorry, please come. All right. Thank you. Please let's try and monitor our mics and let's keep them off. Right. Practice deep breathing and muscle relaxation. As funny as it might be, it actually helps that you take time to breathe in and breathe out and you relax yourself. Again, I said it, emotions are tied to your body. And if you are very, very stressed, your body can feel it, right? If you are they fall sick and had faded. But seeing the neglected space sparked a flicker of inspiration. She remembered the peace and satisfaction. Remember the peace and satisfaction she used to experience while gardening. The feeling of nurturing life, the beauty of blossoming flowers. It all fueled a sense of purpose she had been missing. The next weekend, Miriam donned her garden gloves and began to forgotten seeds and walk the soil. A sense of hope blossomed within her. The garden restored to its former glory, a testament of her dedication and a source of joy. In this question, we are not going to describe Miriam. We're actually going to examine this in our lives. What is the one thing that drains away our motivation? So let's drop it in chat. Something that drains your energy. Let's put it that way. All right, I'm waiting for answers. Final year project and life after school. Nigeria, my God. Mathematics, final year projects, being broke, transportation. Why do we have so many comments on no money, no light? Heat, yes, there's a lot of heat these days. No data, money, food. Okay, eat. All right, I have enough to take home. Light issues, gas finishes. All right, so all right. All right, so those are some of the things that cause a lot of distress. And rightly said, but we actually experience these things. Everything that you've written down is what people experience. All right. State of country security, yes. All right. For yourself. That's as has to do with extrinsic extrinsic motivation, right? Everything I mentioned there, movies, is all outside you. But the other part is things that are more internal, right? Some of us need to just really, you enjoy doing this activity, can be a motivation for you to keep going. I realize time is running out. Empathy, this is a story about empathy. David, who is normally enthusiastic and cheerful, sat down during and gently questioned what was wrong. David hesitated before telling Sarah about was feeling like a failure to his parents, and Sarah listened intently, focusing her attention on David. She gave words of encouragement, reminding him of his past accomplishments and highlighting his work ethic. She recounted her own experience, fostering a sense of shared vulnerability. Right, was filled with purpose. was filled with purpose. He praised Sarah for her sensitivity, compassion, and he was feeling lighter and more capable to overcome his challenges. So this is about empathy, and empathy has to do with feeling for another person. Put it that way, right? And I want to put this out to us here, right? Many of us are having to do final year projects, and we are feeling stressed. We are feeling occupied. Supervisor has asked you to change topic 5 times or 79 times, right? And so many times you've had to go back and forth, right? That might be a challenge that you are facing, and that might put you down. But one of the ways that you can actually, some of us have actually gone through some, others have gone through some of the things that you are experiencing. So by talking to other people or empathizing with another, by listening, right? Sometimes you just need someone to listen to you problems, right? So it's very, very important that we empathize with people and we listen to them. Listening is very, very key in empathy. So there's cognitive empathy. That means you understand what the person is thinking and why they may be feeling that way. So to everyone on this call, I understand what you may be feeling about your final year project. It might be rigorous, but I assure you that you can actually do it, right? You can set yourself to achieve it because so many people have done it ahead of you and they've been able to do it. So you might just want to talk to someone, be empathized with, and you can get the clarity that you need just from someone understanding what you need, right? There's also emotional empathy, feeling emotions for as if other people, as if the emotions were your own, right? Then there's compassionate empathy, which has to do with understanding, but also being motivated to help. Now, this one is very, very key, right? It's not just yeah, I'm sorry, like, right? It's not just that. It's more about what can you now do to help this person. So empathy is a very, very key role in meaning, right? So let us be givers of empathy, and when we need it, let us not hesitate to get it, right? Um, Practical skills, read non-verbal cues. Most of the communication, right? Perhaps 70% of communication is not verbal. Only a little percentage of communication is verbal. Most of our communication is non-verbal. So what people say with the tone of their voice, the gesture, the facial expression, even in silence, much messages are being passed in that other than words, right? There's also active listening, focus entirely on the other person's perspective without immediately offering your own judgment or reaction. There's also perspective taking. Explicitly imagine how another person is feeling in a specific situation, especially during conflict, right? I would like to round up with, I think this is the last slide. I would like to round up with this, that in people relationships, when you are around people, people are asking about 2 to 3 different questions. The first is, am I understood? The second is, am I loved? The third is, am I needed? And empathy answers those key questions. You are able to understand people because you are listening to them, right? You are able to show people that they are loved because you can reason along with what they are going through. And are they needed? You're able to also engage them in conversations. I think that that's about it. The last one is engage in volunteer work, lift yourself out of preoccupation so that you can think about others. That's a way to build empathy for others as well. Question and answers. I think I want over to the moderator now. All right. F5 guest spaces. I want over to the moderator now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor, for that wonderful session. At least I think one thing a lot of us will be able to relate with is the final year stress and what have you. So with that said, do we have any questions that we want to ask concerning this session? This is question and answer time. And please, if you do have any questions, you should kindly type them out on the chat space so that our facilitator can address them appropriately. Thank you. So do you have any questions? Any questions from anyone? applause for our facilitator once more, Ogundele Victor Abolaji. A round of applause. Thank you very much for handling the session on emotional intelligence. And I know each and every one of us can agree with me that it's a very, very important topic. Okay, I think I have a question. Yeah, I think I saw a question now. Okay, yeah, a question from Olapade Olorunwa. He said, can you associate this topic to leadership? I don't know. Can you associate this topic to leadership? Victor, are you still with us? Is there a
Yeah,
way you can
yes,
link
yes.
this? Is
All
there a
right.
way you can
Thank you.
link this to leadership?
Yeah, thank you. Emotional intelligence is pretty much almost everything in leadership, right? So there are two parts to it, right? In leadership, you are doing two things. You are leading yourself, first of all. Then you're also organizing people, resources to achieve something within a certain amount of time. And one of the things that you must encounter in leadership is actually pressure, right? And decision making. So that can do two things to you. On a personal level, that can stress you out, right? The fact that you are under pressure and you have to make decisions, right? That's something that you encounter on a personal level in leadership. So it takes emotional intelligence to understand how you are feeling at that particular point in time, and the kinds of conversations that you should have and you should not have. Last week we mentioned that sometimes you might not have answers and you might just need to calm down and think through things, right? Because in leadership, you might encounter pressure, you might encounter situations that will make you angry. But when you are able to recognize, again, self-awareness, you're able to recognize that you are angry. You're able to recognize that you are not angry with the person, you are angry with the fact that you don't have the right decision or something is stressing you out. That will help you to manage your conversations with other people that you are leading. Now that's on a personal level. Now with empathy, let me give an example of empathy now. Empathy in leadership is very, very important because most of the time, again, the way I rounded up, when people are around you, anybody, they are actively asking questions. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I understood? Am I loved? Right? So if you are leading people, right? And it goes both ways. Okay, let me start with the first one. If you are leading people and they are around you and they don't feel safe, they don't feel loved, they don't feel needed, then it's going to affect their performance. And it also happens to you actually, because you cannot lead people that you don't feel safe around. Right. So you can see why empathy is very, very important. When you walk into a room and you don't feel safe, maybe because you are being backbited about and you don't feel loved, and you don't or needed, and you don't feel understood. Imagine you are speaking and people always misunderstand your words, right? That's something that affects you, but it's something that empathy can solve, right? When you have people or you decide to be someone in the team that can empathize with others, or you're lucky enough to have people in your team that can empathize with you. So it's very, very important that we learn empathy. It's not just for the top leaders, it's also for the team members, because sometimes the top leader might need a team member to empathize with them, because the front leader is going through a lot of pressure. Imagine maybe you are the SUG president and the VC is like, why are the students doing like this? And it's not even you that did that thing, but they are putting it on you and there's a lot of pressure and you have to respond, right? If if you have a leader in your team that is able to empathize with you, that on its own relieves you from a lot of stress and it brings you down to be able to make calm decisions that you would not regret. So it's important both ways, on a personal level, managing stress, managing pressure under high tense decision-making situations, and on an interpersonal relationship. Am I safe? You yourself, are you safe around these people? Are you loved? Are you needed? Right. So those are very, very important questions that things like empathy and self-awareness help with. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. All right, thank you.
Yes,
Joseph.
it does. And Yeah, it does. Thank you very much. That was quite handful. Very handful and very, very engaging. Thank you. So, with that being said, I think we've come to the end of the first session for today's session on leadership for the Inspire training session. So, right about now, I'll be introducing our second speaker, who will be taking us briefly on public speaking and communication. Um, Abdurrahman Miriam is a sales executive and customer service representative at McGeorge Consulting. She specializes in client management, sales, and customer relationship management, helping individuals and organizations access technologies and digital skill development programs. Our work focuses on understanding client needs, providing the right solutions, and ensuring a positive customer experience. So, with a clapping ovation, let's welcome our next speaker, Abdulrahman Miriam. Pardon me, please.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another section of the You Inspire program, Leadership. And I hope we enjoyed the first section of the class. So, today we'll be discussing about communication and public speaking. All right, so we'll be looking at communication and public speaking. So, before I start, I would like to ask a question. Can anyone give the definition of communication? Like, what's communication to you? What do you understand when the word come into your head, like communication? What is communication? Anyone? The moderator, please, you'll be assisting me with, if there's a question on the chat box or a answer, you'll be assisting me by reading it out so I can have an idea if that is being done.
All right, noted.
All right, so the learning objectives we'll be looking at is firstly, we'll be looking at learning effective verbal and non-verbal communication, improve public speaking skills, and the learning outcome is that we should be able to deliver a clear and persuasive speech. Students will practice and active listening as well. So let's move to the section since time might not permit us to elaborate more on it. So, introduction to communication. Communication is the foundation of leadership, teamwork, and personal success. It is the process of sharing ideas, thoughts, emotions, and effectively between individuals. Strong communication builds trust, reduces conflict, strengthens relationship, and increase influence, whether in classroom, workplace, or social setting.
Oui, só de quem? Ontem, agora.
So Miss Miriam, please, before you continue, I have um some comments on what communication is. So I'll just read them out now. Sanusi Adeola said communication is the act of passing or sending information from the source to the receiver. Yusuf Adebayo said it's a link between two or more people. Okay. Olua Demilade Francisca said it's an art of transferring information, ideas between groups through speech. Umana Mercy said communication is the process of sending and receiving information. Raji Abibat says communication is the act of disseminating or passing information to people. Yeah, 21 stroke 25 PM 069 says communication is the process of passing information from one person to another. Anoluwapo says communication is the process of sharing information, ideas, feelings, or messages from one person to another. And finally, Adewuyi Grace says communication is the process of sharing ideas between two or more people in which answers triggers more question. Okay, I'll take Sheriff Jimo. Sheriff Jimo says communication is the process of sending and receiving information from the encoder to the decoder. So those are the comments here.
All right. Thank you, moderator. And yes, everyone is actually correct. The way you define communication to your own better understanding, all definition given are actually. Please unmute and talk if you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The full screen, right? Thank you. Moderator, from your hand, can you see my screen in full screen?
Yes, yes.
All right. We can proceed then. So as I was saying, like, has anyone been in that kind of a situation before? Anyone? So communication is the process of sending and receiving messages. It includes what you say, how you say it, and how you listen. Many people would think communication is only about speaking. Like, let me just talk. When I talk, okay, I'm communicating. No, that's not it. That is very wrong. Communication is incomplete without listening. If you are talking and I'm not listening, are you communicating? No, because at the end of the day, if you are asking me, what did I say? Then I'll be like, what did you say? I was not paying attention. My mind was not there. You are not communicating because you're always speaking to yourself. No one is listening. No one is actually paying attention. No one can even recollect what you say. So, are you communicating in that manner? You are not communicating. You are just speaking to yourself, speaking in your mind because the next person close to you is not listening, is not paying attention, cannot even give, okay, the last thing you said was this, or this was what you said in between. Example of this is the way I'm talking, and I know 30% of people on this call will either be pressing their phone or doing something else. So if I should not be like, oh, what was the last thing I said? I know those that are listening will give an answer, but those not listening are like, they won't even know what I'm saying because they just know they are on the call. That, okay, let me just be there. Okay, I'm there. When they drop attendance, I'm going to pick it, which is very wrong. You never can tell what you are going to pick from this you inspire, and it will be very useful. Take, for example, this leadership course. No matter where you are, you will always be a leader. Either during a group assignment, you as an SU, you are in the student union, departmental, schools, wherever you are, even within among your young ones, you are a leader because you tend to take decision. You tend to like, okay, when something is going on, you tend to like support them. If they are there, you no matter what the situation you are, you always be a leader. And this You Inspire program is something that can actually add value to you. So don't see it as something like, oh, they are wasting my time. Oh, it's not even pertaining to what I'm doing. I'm studying English and I'm telling me to come and do this program. Is it adding to it? No, it might not add to what you are doing in school, but it will definitely add to something you are going to do in the future. It will definitely
It's
add
not
to
for adding.
Please, I would appreciate if we can mute our mic to not split the classes into 2 or 3. Thank you.
Please, guys, kindly mute your mic. Miriam, please, before
Yes?
you proceed,
Okay.
I would love that. I looked at the slides now, and they are not in full presentation mode. So please, if you can like reshare them again, so that we
Okay,
can all
okay.
follow.
Thank you.
Sorry for those of us that are just joining. Our facilitator is trying to share our screen again so that we can continue the session.
No problem.
Just give. Yeah, thank you.
Hi. Hello. Hello.
Thank you.
It's attached to um, so please kindly ensure that you do where to do them, and before and you submit before the deadline. And yeah, thank you.
Sorry, please. Can you repeat yourself, please? I can't hear you, please.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. I said that there is an assignment on the group, and the deadline would be 31st of this month. So we should kindly ensure that we do them before the deadline. So I
Okay,
think
sir.
the slides are back now. So can we all see the slides?
Yes, sir. We can see it.
All right. All right.
Yes, sir, we can
Miss
see it.
Miriam, you can proceed now. Thank you.
Apologies on that for the break. I was trying to fix that so everybody can see the slide. All right, so please confirm, can you see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, we can see the screen.
Moderator, are you there?
Yeah, we can see the screen now. It's clear.
We'll quickly take that so we can. Okay, so the last thing I asked was, has anyone been in that situation before? Which I've gotten a response. Yeah, so we'll proceed from there. So now, understanding verbal and non-verbal communication. There are different types of communication can be classified into verbal and non-verbal communication. So when we say verbal communication, it's not just about speaking English or big grammar. It's not about you speaking. I know that we have English students among us. Yes, it's not about speaking, no, and it's not about those English words you use. So if I'm offending the English department, I'm sorry, but we just have to do justice to that. So verbal communication includes your tone, your clarity, your confidence, your choice of word. All this, if you say, I'm fine. Okay, let's say, for example, when you ask me, Mariam, how are you? Then the next thing I'll say is, I'm fine. Firstly, you will notice my tone is low. That could give you a judgment on your head that, oh, probably she's sick, or she's weak, or she doesn't want to talk. But when I'm fine and you ask me, Mariam, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine, I'm doing good. You don't even need to know if I'm that alone. My voice, the way I answered you alone, already classified that I know she's okay. Even at the end of the day, if I'm not lying to you that no, you'll be like, no, when you pick up the phone or when I was communicating to you earlier, you were sounding very okay. So why are you trying to like hide under something or why are you trying to lie or all of that? So verbal communication depend on the way we talk, our tone when we talk, the clarity of our tone when we are talking, our confidence. When you are saying you are fine, are you confident about it or you are shaking or you are trying to balance? I'm fine. No, 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 no. So, I'm fine. No, 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 no. So your choice of words as well. So now let's move non-verbal communication.
To non-verbal.
Research already made it known that body language communicates even more than words. Communicates more than words. Let's say, how can I put it? If we live with our parents, yes, let me take us back to when we were younger. Like, okay, uh, we're in the sitting room watching film, then all of a sudden, one of mommy friend came in. Immediately she sit down. Your mom did not need to talk. Just tapping her head or even scratching or itching her hair or just looking at you with one, the bombastic eyesight now. When they look at you, they don't need to see anything before you pack your belongings from that sitting room and move. If we have ever experienced this, has anyone experienced this? Let me just ask. Has anyone experienced that your parent, maybe you're having a conversation with your parent and all of a sudden a visitor just sitting down comfortably, then the next thing your mom will just look at you and like, did she need to talk before you even pack? No. Or probably when you visit someone during Christmas or any festive, you go to visit a friend, then they serve you food. the first thing everybody will say is, we have eaten, ma. We just finished eating. Until your mom will tell you, go ahead. If she doesn't say that word, go ahead, you will never eat. Because you know, once you eat it, oh God, at home is going to be another drama entirely. Exactly. African mother, they will whine you, but don't panic. Just maintain your steeze and composure. African mother will whine you. Yes, we are all trained that way. Experience plenty. See, that person is talking from experience. The person that commented experience plenty, you are actually right. So non-verbal communication deals with body language, eye contact, facial expression, gestures and posture, voice modulation. All this we can relate it to we growing up with our parents, or not even if you're not even growing up with your parents, your elderly ones. Everybody is trained with this. You understand body sign, you understand eye sign. When they look at you, you already know what they mean. When they give you a body sign, you already know that okay, this person is trying to tell me this. When see just so research already made it know that body language, and it's true because most of the time you might be talking and the person will just look at you and like my high, you know, people struggle with communication. Anyone, you can drop that in the chat box. Why do you think people struggle with communication? Just like I asked earlier before the class started, and I was like, have you ever been in a situation where you want to talk and the next thing you started showing how to put it, or you are scared that, oh, if I say this thing, will they actually listen to me? Fear, lack of confidence, shy, lack of courage, fear, all. So we'll be moving to the next slide now. Active listening skills. That's what we'll be looking at now. Active listening. When the word comes to you like active listening, what do you understand by active listening? What is active listening? Listening. What is active listening? If the word is coming to you that active listening, can you define active? Can you say that okay, this is what active listening is? Can anyone give an answer to that? I would like to use the Yoruba proverb that told me that's how you want to respond. Like, Miriam, this, and the next thing you also will respond immediately. No, take it slow. Digest what that person is saying before you give an answer. You don't just, I'm sorry, I'm a little you say. And even me about being communicated. Exactly. Being able to pay a close attention to details of what. Yes. Thank you very much. uh Remembering what is being said. So I should now take a pause now, like, okay, can anyone tell me about what public listening if we are following? Anyone? Ayodeji, do you want to say something? Because you're not muted.
Yes, ma. Oku Okinwa.
Thank you. Exactly. I wanted to say that Yoruba, but I forgot. Just to show that I'm a Yoruba lady. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. So, thank you, Ayodeji, for the correction. So, I'm still waiting. Oh, anyone? Oluwademilade, well done, well done. Okay. So we can end the class. I have just less than 10 minutes to finish the class. So active listening means fully concentrating on this and talking. Then what is public speaking? Someone should be able to say, okay, this is what public speaking is, this is what communication is, this is this listening. At the same time, you are understanding, and some are even responding when I say what is that. There's active listening in the class. Active listening. So now this is what I'm going to do. How to practice active listening, avoid interrupting. That is the main reason we used to say, please mute your mic, because when your mic is not muted, the whole thing is coming in together. And CD card, please, yes, thank you. You can off the camera as well. That's it. You see? interruption in between. Is us avoiding interruption, ask clarifying question. Now this is the class we're talking. What is HTML? Are we in web class? Of course not. Ask something pertaining to what within the box. Remain in that box, that square. Remain in it. Don't move from one box to another. Stay in that box and ask clarifying questions that are being taught or teach in the class. Nod and show engagement. If teachers, lecturers, presenters, and your class, they want to, oh, are we following? Are we listening? Are we grabbing? So let me do this. Are we listening? You can use reaction. Yes, I know some of you did not want to chat. You can use the reaction. Are you listening? Are we following? Do we understand what has been said? Yes, thank you. Okay, yes, thank you very much. So summarize what the speaker has said. Okay, from the beginning, the speaker has been saying this. What is all this still leading to? Communication. If you are addressing public speaking, what is public speaking? You are still communicating, you are still passing a message. So communication is always incomplete without listening. If I'm talking and nobody is listening, are we communicating? Of course not. We're not communicating. I'm not communicating because number one, I'm communicating, nobody is listening. Probably, maybe you're on the call, then you just drop your phone like, that's not fair, that's not good enough. So communication is incomplete without listening. When you're communicating, try to follow up. Oh, are we following up? Are we listening? Ask questions, let people respond. Oh, you are presenting. Yes, okay. So doing group presentation or even anything when you're presenting, ask questions. When I was in school, I do see if my group is presenting, the lecturer already knows that no, he's in for it because while I'm presenting, I'll personally ask him a question that you are in my class, so define this. And he'll be like, Miriam, I'll say, sir, you are part of this now because you're sitting down. It's my class, so you ask. During my TP, you will definitely see. If you're assessing me, assessors knows, I will ask them questions. So are you following? Are you with me in the class? So what did I say when I entered the class? I'll ask him. So make sure when you are communicating, people are listening, they are following, not just you coming, step by step. You communicate, like you will definitely stand out academically because know where you want to see yourself, know where you want to meet yourself. You yes, this is this. You'll be able to communicate. You build leadership presence. Those of us in the SU departmental, what other department or post do we have in schools? You build leadership presence because when I'm coming now, I say I'm going to get my ID card. You address that. Okay, fine. Departmental president, you walk up to the student, you know that yes, my department needs this, and we must get you. In fact, people always look up this thing come around now, all these issues, because even if you are not around in that school premises, they know you are not around that. Okay, this person is not around. So from classrooms to boardroom, communication skills opens door. Definitely, I've said that. So I would like to say this code. Most people do not listen. This is it.